Hey there everybody, it's Nathan Cool with Surfer Magazine. Time for an update. It's February 12, 2018. Wanted to take a look at what's going to be happening over the next few weeks as far as surf, weather, and winds are concerned. Got a lot of stuff that's happening actually around the planet, some stuff that's happening in the Pacific, some stuff happening in the Atlantic, also taking a look at what could be happening for some bigger surf at Portugal that might actually be now dying off. So not a lot of good news on the horizon as we start getting into the springtime, but spring is a time of waiting, and of course Southern Hemisphere season will be coming up fairly soon. But what does it really mean though as far as what we could expect out of rain? We are in La Nina, so is it going to be staying dry? Are we going to see much surf over the coming weeks? I wanted to give you a full breakdown on everything besides just what you can read in my reports if you look at forecasts.surfer.com. So let's take a look at what's going on right now. So the biggest problem that we're faced with right now is La Nina, and you can see that by all this cold water over here in the equatorial Pacific. We still have some warm water that's keeping the temps on the high side that's coming off of, we can see Baja stretching out into toward Hawaii, but not anything really all that impressive as compared to the severe La Nina state that we're really going into right now. We can see over here in the Atlantic there's a lot of warmth that's going on over here. And about this time last year and 2 years ago, there was a lot of cold water that started filling that region. So people were worried about possibly a North Atlantic cold anomaly. Doesn't seem to be the case to really be affecting much right now. And why do I bring that up? Well, one of the things that could be affecting the North Atlantic is, of course, the North Atlantic oscillation. And this is going to drive what could happen to Nazaré and the bigger surf that could hit around Portugal. So we're taking a look at that possibly dropping off, and we can see that happening in this index where these red lines are starting to drop off. It doesn't really matter what's going on with that warm mass up there so much. And of course, you know, it has gone off here recently, and if you go to surfer.com and you can take a look at this article here, check out Smashville, written by the guys over at Surfer on Nazaré. So we've got definitely some bigger surf that has been coming through. It's been pounding up in that region, but now that the North Atlantic oscillation is starting to drop off, then that's really not going to be having much of an effect. We can though see what's happening in the North Atlantic. I'll get to Pacific in just a second. This won't take long. What we want to see happen for the North Atlantic oscillation, we want a lot of low pressure over here near toward Iceland. You can see this is Portugal was here where this red blob is right now, and this is the UK. Over here, this is Florida. We've got this Azores, this Bermuda Azores high that sits here, and we want that to make a real tight gradient between what's happening up here off the Icelandic low. And right now that's the case, but as you start moving those models forward in time, it just falls apart. The Bermuda Azores high moves out. There is some low pressure moving through here. We can see the gradient still existing, but as we continue moving out, it just completely falls apart and falters. What's hitting Portugal right over here now is just a storm, and all that could have some big surf. It's just going to get messy. So not a whole lot going on than high pressure replacement, so I'm not holding a lot of hope for big wave events out in the North Atlantic, at least over the next few weeks. So taking a look back at the Pacific, here's a wave model, and we can see that not a lot's going on. We've got some wind swell up here. There's some stuff over here in the Western Pacific. So move the models forward in time, it doesn't really get much better. So we can see some stuff wanting to come out of the Western Pacific here. This is 90 hours out. But as it does, it gets tossed up into these high latitudes up toward the Gulf, the Bering Sea, the Aleutian Chain. Doesn't really do much for surf in Southern California or the California coast to begin with. You can see though that wind swell systems want to skirt down, and once they get past British Columbia, Alaska, they want to come down into the coast of California. And like in this case where we're taking a look at Monday the 19th and then into probably Tuesday the 20th, we're looking at a lot of wind swell. Now, some of these systems will be sending ground swell our way, so the timing's going to be tricky. And of course, you can check out my forecasts on that at forecasts.surfer.com. Look for Southern California, and you'll see my ramblings there 3 times a week. So one of the reasons that this is in play, this terrible pattern for surf for California, is this classic omega blocking high. We've got this blue area that's high pressure, red is low pressure on either side of it, California. over here, Southern California right there above Baja, and that just doesn't want to go away. So as storms come out of the western Pacific, they get battered by this blocking area of high pressure, tossed up into high latitudes, and then eventually come down our way as dry systems, not bringing much rain. And of course, then that causes a wind gradient. You can see that here, those tight isobars. Moving the models forward in time, we can see that pattern just doesn't want to go away. There's one system after another, like this one, keeps coming down and wanting to hit Southern California. Those are mostly wind events as they come back down. They're not really rain events. They're wind, maybe wind swell events at best, but not a whole lot of groundswell then would head our way. But these strong systems out here in the western Pacific, they do send swell our way. It's just going to take a while for it to reach us, and by the time it does, then it's a lot weaker. But that's how things are looking. Even on the long range, as we extend that out, models had been trying to tease here last month that, oh, we'd be seeing a breakdown of that pattern. But here we even go out, this is 180 hours out, and that area of high pressure remains strong. So we can even see more of that going out even farther on the horizon. This is a nice NOAA model. They go out to 300 hours. And we move this forward in time, we can see that area of high pressure out here in the Gulf and this classic omega pattern of lows on either side of it. And it just doesn't want to go away. Here's big systems forming out of the western Pacific, starting to send some groundswell our way, but they also are at a high latitude. And that means more swell that'd be angled at about 300 degrees. And then these wind swell systems like this one coming down, that's like 310, 320 degrees. Not good news for a lot of surf in Southern California, but at the same time, it's going to be harder for the rain to come our way. And when that happens, then we get sunnier skies, conditions are better. But when you see something like this happen, and of course this is way out on 384 hours, this is a dream, hope, and a prayer, a crystal ball looking type thing. We've got possibility of rain that could come our way by the end of the month. That's what that strong area of pressure is showing us right there. Taking a look at the precipitation, maybe we might get a few sprinkles here and there. This is a 12-hour accumulation model. It's not pretty. We take, if you're looking for rain, you can see we move that in. Yeah, we were maybe going to get a little bit here around Valentine's Day or so, or Tuesday. Models had really held out hope for this blob of precipitation here, a little atmospheric river forming that might get drawn up, and it looks like it's not going to hit Southern California. It looks like here toward Thursday time frame and into Friday that Baja is going to get wet, but not really holding out any hope any longer for Southern California's high pressure. You can see it by all those H's around here. That high pressure just wants to dominate Southern California as well. So not really seeing much in the precipitation even as we go out here. This is the 18th, even going out farther in toward the 19th. It just isn't looking very good. Speed that up a little bit and the news just doesn't get any better. There's always a hope and prayer out there on the long range, but even this guy here at the 22nd, he looks anemic. Not really much there in the way of rain. So taking a look at the southern hemisphere, this is kind of interesting. We've got Gita sitting down here. You can take a look. This is the track for Gita from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. And that's about the only thing really happening right now. If you watch Gita down here, you can see that she's moving around and eventually going to go down toward the Tasman Sea. That doesn't do a darn thing for Southern California. We're way up here. We need those storms to move north to provide us anything in the way of swell. And there just isn't anything yet, and that's to be expected. It's just not that time of year. A little bit of stuff formed down here. This is south of Pitcairn, and it's starting to move over towards South America, but jet stream is just still guiding storms that way. It's just not the time of year to see any big change in that yet. So when will that change? Not anytime soon, at least not until we get into summer. This is bad news right here for the winter, but it's actually pretty good news when it comes to the summer. This is how we're looking as far as El Nino goes. And before you start seeing all this spaghetti flailing out of this line out here, this is where we are. So we're here in February, and we can see that La Nina had dipped. This was El Nino before. So La Nina has dipped and it has come up a little bit, but when you take the mean out of all the models, that dashed line looks like La Nina is going to continue. Not very severe, but if La Nina continues, then it also means that we do have a chance for the southern hemisphere jet stream to weaken a little bit. El Nino tends to strengthen that southern hemisphere jet. La Nina tends to weaken it. So when that happens, we have a better chance of seeing southern hemi ground swells this summer if this La Nina pattern continues. The people over at the National Weather Service and NOAA, they do feel that we're probably going to be heading into a neutral state, which kind of, this is pretty much what it is. When you're taking a look at this negative 0.5 as a signal for an El Nino or La Nina, it's not much, but definitely not going to be seeing El Nino by the looks of it anytime soon. So that's how things are looking right now. We're going to be seeing a lot of sunny weather. There'll probably be some very windy days because each time one of those lows barrels down that east side of that blocking area of high pressure, windstorms ensue. If those lows go just a little bit one way or the other, it makes a big difference. If they get lined up over the coast, they might pick up a little bit of moisture along the way, and if they do, we can get a rain event out of it. If they go too far inland, then we could actually see some wind events, possible Santa Anas. So we're right on that dividing line as that pattern ensues, but as far as the surf is concerned, the best chance out of those is wind swell, but before they get blocked by that area of high pressure, they do send some ground swell our way. It's just that we need some strength out of those systems to really bring sizable ground swell. So we're not looking at really any sizable ground swell over the next few weeks and probably not into March. And don't forget, we are approaching spring, so the winter swell season of the big northwesters are probably going away. And the same goes for the Atlantic too. Probably not going to see any big wave events off Portugal. Probably not so much as we start getting into our springtime in the next few weeks. So as we continue into spring though, we're going to start getting into closer time frames for the southern hemisphere, the southern hemi swell season for Southern California, especially when we start approaching May. Now, hurricane formation isn't looking all that great. A lot of cold water, so not really a good driver for hurricane swells, but the cleaner southern hemi swells that could come up, we're looking at a better chance of that probably starting into May and June. Without El Nino keeping that jet stream really strong down around the Antarctic jet stream, we're looking at a good chance of then seeing breaks in those where those Antarctic storms can then drift northward and send swell our way. Anyways, that's how things are looking right now. You can follow more of my reports on surfer.com. Go to forecast.surfer.com and you can see me under the California report. If you did like this video and you want to see more of them, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. It won't cost you anything, and as soon as one of these are posted, you'll be the first to know. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, take care, be safe, and smile in the lineup.